Okay, folks, last couple of slides, and again, there's quite a few notes, but I think a lot of this is common sense, this last few bits, okay? We've just looked at the values of coral reefs. We're now looking at the impacts or threats. I could replace impacts with threats, okay? Unfortunately, a lot of the threats come from human activity, okay? Now, I've divided them into local factors and global factors. I'm sure there's an argument to be made for some of these swapping both sides, okay? Going to start with some local stuff first. This word dredging, okay? This is when boats take sediments from the sea floor for construction, okay? It damages reefs. So dredging is when we go out to collect sand and stuff from the bottom of the sea to bring back to land for building, okay? And we don't really pay too much attention of where we claim it from. It can damage the reefs. This is the big one. Okay, now we've already talked about sedimentation, okay? We said that coral reefs need clear oceans and clear water to thrive. But when extra sediment is washed into the sea from coastal construction, okay? Corals need clear water to grow. With less light, they will die. So again, sedimentation and siltation is mainly from agriculture or construction. Now I've put construction down here, especially coastal construction. Think about where a lot of the hotels and stuff in Nassau or New Providence are built, right by the sea. So during the construction process, there's lots of stuff like cement and lime and sand and soil that are washed out to sea. Okay. In other parts of the world, soil washed off of farms through rivers, brought out into the sea. And remember, our reefs grow right by the land, so they're the first bits to get all of this extra sediment. It can block out the sun, thus the reefs die. Local fishing practices. Now again, this one is fishing could probably go in both categories, but I'm going to stick just with local categories. In the Bahamas, fishing techniques are from blast fishing, using dynamite to bleach fishing. Using actual bleach, okay, is damaging the corals. So there's lots of different fishing techniques around the world, but blast fishing was where they used to go down, throw some dynamite in around the coral, let it blow up, and it would help catch lots of different stuff. Okay. There was also a period where bleach was being used to poison fish. All right, but again, that bleach then goes on to poison the whole area. All right. Construction, I've already talked about. During construction, it's waste, and then after, once the building and all the hotels and stuff are finished or resorts, it's human waste. Okay, so there's a double issue there. Global factors. Climate change is obviously the major global factor. Okay. It can only be solved by the whole world enforcing change to lower temperatures. The ocean's temperatures are getting warmer due to climate change, and that's killing off all of the coral reef. I'll show you this on the next slide, right? Tourism again, I've put this in global factors. There's 100 out of 109 countries which have coral reefs have developed thriving tourism industries. Tourists break and damage reefs, and tourist fishing kills species. So nearly every single country that has coral reefs do lots of tourism. Okay, and it's really, really damaging. Yes, you might think, oh, one tourist, but think of hundreds every single day for years and years, breaking pieces off, accidentally kicking reefs over, and so on. Oil spills. This can occur around the world and destroys all life in oceans. Oil is drilled in the Caribbean, so this is an issue for the Bahamas. The Bahamas will also start drilling for oil later this year, it's supposed to, and that's a really, really big concern. All right. Agriculture, again, this is all happens all around the world, so I put in global. Harmful chemicals from fertilizers and pesticides getting into the water and killing wildlife. All right. Now, two big things we need to know. You need to know this. You have to do this table. Coral bleaching and ocean acidification. Now, this is due to oceans becoming too warm because of climate change. The algae can no longer survive in these temperatures and moves away or dies. The pulp has now lost its main source of food and energy. The pulp dies and leaves just a white, grey skeleton behind. So that's what happens. I'll show you a picture in a second. You go from this vibrant, colourful coral reef. But when the oceans get too hot, the algae moves away because it can't survive. Remember, one of the limiting factors was a very specific temperature. If the algae moves away, then the polyp is going to die. Okay, and you just have the skeleton left behind. So this is our coral bleaching. Should be like this. The orange colour comes from the algae, okay? But if it can't survive, it moves, and then the polyp dies out, and it's just left with this limestone white calcium skeleton. Ocean acidification then. This is due to the ocean absorbing more carbon dioxide. Again, we produce lots of carbon dioxide. It goes up into the atmosphere, but the ocean absorbs a lot of it. As there's more CO2 in the atmosphere, the ocean absorbs a lot of this. This changes the pH of the ocean, making it more acidic. This reduces the ability of the coral reefs to make their hard calcium skeleton. Without this, they die out. Okay, so again, this one attacks the skeleton, whereas this one attacks the algae. So again, our acidification, this should be what all the little different skeletons look like, but in the end, they become weak and eroded, and you're left with nothing. Okay, so you need to know these two terms. Finally then, reducing impacts and conservation. We've looked at the word conservation when we did our topic of water. If you want the definition again, it's right there. Okay, but remember, it's about continuing to use the resource in such a way that we don't completely destroy it. So we manage. The key word is to manage something. We still use it, so we still have tourism, we still fish, but the main idea is to protect the reef. So first of all, the first thing that can be done is there's organizations like CITES or sites or cities, okay? Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, so it protects wildlife and reefs. Individual countries and governments need to have tighter rules and controls on fishing, on tourism, and on construction. The Bahamas in particular. We need to start telling people no. Okay? Try not to build near the coast, stopping things like blast fishing, and so on. Coral reef restoration projects, so to try and restore. What can we do to try and restore the damaged reefs already? Brief is a good example here in the Bahamas. They have projects on different islands to try and protect and restore a coral reef. Okay, so this is a global organization. Individual countries need to have better rules, and we need to try and fix up the damage already done. Finally then, obviously climate change needs to be mentioned. The world as a whole needs to reduce its greenhouse emissions. One major way is by moving into new and cleaner energies or fuels. The reliance on oil and oil drilling must stop. Now, as I said, the Bahamas has got the green light to start drilling for oil off the west coast of Andros near Cuba. Okay, we have no idea if there's oil to be found, but we think there is, and it's not, in my opinion, a very good idea. Okay, so this is how we can protect our reefs. Finally, just on homework, and I'll show you the worksheet. I will send this out during the week. I'll send this out with your lesson on Monday. Okay, 7 questions worth 30 marks, all to be complete in full sentences, no bullet points. Complete and folder sheet with your name very clearly, and send it on Plus Portal. It can be, you can take a photo, you can scan it, and then send it via Plus Portal under the correct assignment heading, please. Okay, so let me just very quickly show you this assignment once it pops up here. Okay, this is the sheet you'll receive. All right, don't worry too much about this. It's these 7 questions down here. All right, now we've addressed all of this in the videos today. How are coral reefs formed? 2 marks. Describe 4 of the 7 limiting factors required for coral reefs to grow. So it's 8 marks, so you get 2 for each one. So you don't just list 4. I want you to mention one like ocean temperatures and describe what you mean by that. Okay, so give me 4 of those. Number 3, name 3 island countries in the Caribbean region where coral reefs can be found. Do not list them. Give me full sentence, please. Define and distinguish between the following types of reef. 6 marks. A barrier reef is what? Fringing reef is what? Patch reef is what? I've given you all of those definitions. Number 5, explain 3 ways in which Bahamian citizens and visitors are destroying the coral reef of the Bahamas. So we've gone through those threats also. Again, explain. So tell me an issue and explain how it damages. So tourism would be one, but how does it damage the reef? Number 6, what would happen to the coral polyps if the water became too cloudy or too full of sediment? Going to leave you figure that one out for yourself, but we did it in the lesson. And explain 2 reasons why coral reef systems are so important. What are the benefits that they bring? Okay, so that should be very, very straightforward. You do not need to write the question, just the answers, but make sure your name is clearly on it. Okay?